Okay. How are you doing, Mr. Steve?
Pardon me?
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
You want to get into it?
Pardon me?
You want to get into it?
Sure.
How old were you during most of the Vietnam era?
I was 18 to 21 when I was in the service in the Vietnam War.
What were you doing during this period?
What was I doing?
Yeah.
I was a munitions maintenance specialist. Means I put together bombs and explosives that were dropped by planes in the Air Force.
What was your attitude regarding American involvement in this conflict?
I was 18, I didn't have an attitude. I was just trying to fulfill an obligation to avoid being drafted by the Army, so I joined the Air Force. But with regard to attitudes about the government's involvement in Vietnam, I was led by most of the American public that we were there to try and stop communist aggression from North Vietnam, from spreading into South Vietnam and changing that to communist rule.
As the war progressed, did your attitude change? How and why?
As the war progressed and I served a year in Southeast Asia and came home, there were different factors that changes your opinion. One was the futility of what we're doing. We would win some battles. There was a lot of statements being made by the military about our success in these battles that were not true. And they were trying to sell the American public that we were changing that country and preventing communists from being the rule in that country, which in the long run turned out to be not the truth. And so there was a rising distrust with regard to the government, our government, and what was being told about the Vietnam War. People were dying, increasing numbers. There weren't really big things that were being accomplished here. We weren't winning the war. We were killing a lot of people. They were killing us too.
In what ways did this conflict affect your life?
It adds some distrust of what our government does, but it also points out the inefficiencies that our government has, and it adds some distrust to the leadership as to who's leading it, and it also makes you feel that your ability to control your destiny is affected by people in Washington who really don't have a good idea as to how to do their job better.
What is your most vivid memory of the Vietnam War?
I landed in the South Vietnam, and you see caskets being loaded into big planes to fly back to the United States. And you look over those and they're stacked like boxes, and you think, geez, it's a lot of dead people. That's pretty vivid.
How did you feel when Saigon fell?
It didn't bother me. There's an ongoing situation. I saw it coming when in 1972, when I was still in the service. She said, this isn't going to work. We're not going to win this war. We need to get out of it. We didn't. We didn't get out of it until 75. And what is remembered there is people piling into helicopters to get off out of Saigon, and the United States military turning back these people who knew they were going to be killed by the incoming communist regime when the country fell. And it was just, and the other thing I saw was them pushing planes off of our aircraft carriers, our planes and helicopters, because they didn't have any room for the people. And so they're pushing planes off just to give them more room. It's like, damn, when you see them men get up and put their hands on on a big helicopter and push it over the side of the ship. You think, oh, that's pretty impressive. But they're just trying to get out of that country and doing crazy things. That's beyond me. I was out in November of '73, and so '75, although it was coming at some of those things I talk about was I was out of the service by then, but people were just horrified that they will all be killed when the communists took over, and a large number of them were killed.